Democrat refugees are becoming a serious crisis, especially within the United States. And there's been a bit of a meme, let's say, in political circles for a small amount of time, which is that a lot of Democrats keep fleeing the blue states and they're going to the red states. And then what do? Well, they vote blue. And the the red states become blue. And then they ruin the whole place again. And then they move on to another place and ruin that one, and so on and so forth.
Great.
And this has been a bit of a refugee crisis of people who are Democrats fleeing Democrat places, going to Florida, and then trying to elect Democrats. Again, it's because they haven't learned the lesson. And it's always been a bit of a joke, but now we have the confirmation of it, which is the US Census. So the census results have come out, and as you can see here from Breitbart, reporting on the situation. Census. Americans flee left-wing lockdown states for open red states. And this has obviously been exaggerated. Like, the movement has obviously been a thing and has now been exaggerated because of the, let's say, response to COVID from Democrats, which has been to lock their places down and enforce vaccine passports or whatever the hell else. Blue states that have repeatedly imposed mask mandates, vaccine requirements, and lockdowns over the last year have lost population to red states that have done away with such policies. Newly released data from the United States Census Bureau reveals that while blue states like California and New York have increasingly lost their population from July 2020 to July 2021, red states, such as Texas and Florida, have seen their populations increase. 33 states saw population increases over the last year, while 17 and Washington, D.C. saw their populations decline. New York has suffered the largest numerical population decline, with roughly 319,000 fewer residents today than a year ago.
How many of those died under the as a result of coronavirus?
None of them, because they're all moved to Florida.
Oh, sorry.
So they've all left New York and gone somewhere else.
No, now I understand,
Yeah, New York, especially New York City, has imposed school closures, business lockdowns, vaccine requirements, and mask mandates sporadically over the last 12 months, and is doing so again, as we have seen the news coming out from there, and people being kicked out of Applebee's, the heroes of Applebee's. I don't know what they call them, like the martyrs of Applebee's or something, because I just find it really funny. It's like, I just wanted to eat some food. Yeah, well, you go to prison. Okay, that's Australian style policing for you. Anyway, so yeah, everyone fleeing New York, and also because of the various other problems that these cities have, the endless crime and so on and so forth. Simultaneously, Texas, which has not had any statewide Chinese coronavirus related restrictions since March, has gained population to the sum of 310,000 residents. Florida, with a similar ethos of remaining open with little to no restrictions, saw the second largest numeric population gains after Texas, with more than 211,000 new residents. California and Illinois, oppositely, saw the largest population decreases after New York. So these states that are the worst are the ones that are the bluest and are losing all their population. And the states that are doing the best and attracting the most domestic immigrants, because we love our immigrants, are all going to Florida and Texas because they're free. They're free states instead of slave states. Biomedical slave states. Anyway, proper there. In California, where mask mandates and vaccine requirements remain a policy in major cities, there are at least 262,000 fewer residents than there were a year ago. In Illinois, with similar restrictive coronavirus-related policies and a statewide mask mandate, there are 114,000 fewer residents than a year ago.
Goodness.
Just fleeing. I mean, this is even in taking into account births, deaths, the immigration coming from outside the US coming in. This is just people just being like, nah, I'm leaving, bye.
It's striking.
Anyway, so if we go to the next link here, we have the map itself, and how does your state compare? And you can go and see your state and compare it to, well, the S-hole states. I know Trump used S-hole country, but I mean, the S-hole states is also a thing, and as you can see with New York and California there.
Yes.
And then everyone moving to the other places. I still can't get over how Montana really does look like Joe Biden's face sniffing the other state next to it. You just see that? You see his little face next on Montana there? You get it? No?
No, not quite.
Okay, some people don't get it. It really, I never saw it before. And every time I see a map of the US states, I always see Joe Biden's face poking out there now. Can't get rid of it.
Yeah, I have to look at that a little closer, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is population change. So this is before we even consider mass immigration to the United States, which still takes place. I believe it was 700,000 people came to the US during the coronavirus season of 2020.
Wow.
Like, okay, mass lockdowns, foreign travel not really possible, but yet, we go from 1 million a year to 700,000. Like, what? Like, even with all that going on, you only reduce it by a third, but fine. That's just whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if we go to the next link here, there are some graphs we can also consider, especially in California's current situation, which are stark. So as you can see here, California's population growth continues to slow in the first graph, and you can see that it's been shrinking over time, let's say since the 80s or since 1990 there, with a spike there. And but especially during recent years from like 2010 to 2020, just flatlining.
Yeah.
I mean, just going to zero, which, yeah, just people leaving, people not having kids there, people don't want to live there.
It sucks.
What can you blame them? And if we go to the graph too, we can see net migration, which is for California here, which is negative for the last 3 years alone. So, I mean, this is even before you impose lockdowns, huge tax rises, mass mandates, all of that. Even before you get to just openly tyrannizing people's day-to-day lives, people are like, I'm leaving.
God.
I'm out of here. And that's immigration, even including the immigration from foreign places into California.
Wow.
So if we go to the next one, we can see migration within the state itself. So sorry, if we can go back and scroll down for the last graph, you can see the migration within the United States, which is just constantly people leaving. So the domestic people of California just constantly leaving. I mean, since what, 2000? Since 2000, we've got people leaving.
That's
but again,
stark exodus.
getting worse and worse since 2014, which, can't blame them.
No.
If we go to the next article here, there's some cope that I thought we'd look at. So
Fantastic.
The San Francisco Chronicle, who's trying to have a bit of cope about this, which is they've got to report the facts, but then have to try and cover it up, being like, well, it's not a problem, we swear. Yeah, no one else believes you. So yeah. They say in here, so they give some statistics, and they say there's a 4% decrease in births and a 22% increase in deaths, with 88% of those increase in deaths apparently being COVID. Well, I should say with COVID, not from COVID, because that's how the data is recorded. And in here they say California is losing a congressional seat for the first time due to a slowing population growth in the prior decade, which at least there's some justice there. Because, of course,
Yes.
the seats are decided by what the population of the state
Of course,
is.
yeah.
Which, at least they'll lose one seat there, which is neat. And then Walter Schwamm, the state demographer?
Demographer?
I can't read English. The Department of Finance expects fewer deaths and more international immigration in the coming data sets for the second half of 2021.
Good luck with that.
Which could boost the state from going negative to flat or positive growth in the next 6 months. He said, I mean, being flat, just keeping people in the prison would be enough for them. Quote, I do not believe we'll see things this negative, he said. It's like, I do.
Yeah.
Also, I hope, because quite frankly,
you're going to need to build a wall to stop people from leaving.
yeah, the Democrat refugees are going to be pouring out. And, well, they already are. So, I mean, if you're a red state, be prepared. And have a stern warning with the neighbors who just moved in from California.
Yeah.
Like, not vote blue here. Whatever you do, I don't care if you have your parties late at night, make all the noise.
You like this community? Great. Then vote to preserve it, not destroy it.
Don't have to come to church. Don't care. Just don't vote blue. Like, simple as.
Respectable condition.
Yeah, I actually agree with I think it was AA's solution on this, which he came up with a 2-state solution at first, which was just like breakaway states. It was like, okay. And he's like, all right, no, we'll have immigration between the states, but just a 10-year memorandum where if you move to a state for 10 years, you can't vote because, you're moving from a red to a blue state and you're going to bring your hellhole with you. Anyway, well, bringing blue to red. Anyway, so in here he also says all 9 Bay Area counties saw a drop in population for the first time on record between July 2020 and 2021, ranging from 0.19% loss in Solano County to a decrease of 1.77 in San Francisco. So San Francisco being the most exodus place in the United States.
Unsurprising. It is an absolute dive.
Yeah. I mean, to lose 1.7% of your population in a year, just gone.
Isn't that Nancy Pelosi's state?
Yeah, it's just everyone leaving. It kind of reminds me of not Meghan Merkel, Mama Markle instead.
Mama Markle.
Yeah, you remember she said that everyone could come to Germany and just we're not going to check if you're ISIS or
I remember
rapist
it very, very well, yes.
or a Cologne
yes.
harasser
Yeah.
and all the rest of it. I think Germany's population, what was it, like 1 or 2% in that year?
Yeah.
Just 1 year, just 2% of your population
Such
come from abroad.
an act of sadomasochism. That's
Let's not talk about how the Germans hate the Germans, and I think she's an avatar of that, at least trying to destroy Germany. Anyway, so if we move on, we of course have the problems with California as a specific place for this, which is why are people leaving California from some travel website, which I just love how they just list them all. And if you can scroll, John, you'll see just the headlines. I'm just going to read the headlines of the points of why they say people are leaving, which is rising state taxes, housing crisis, political problems, as if these things are disconnected, social and economic problems, polite way of putting it, filth. That's got to be the best one. Just filth. Like, as they say, San Francisco winning the award as the most doo-doo capital of the United States, and is also the place where the most people are fleeing en masse because they can't stand living there, as seen by the previous statistic. And where are they going? Texas and Florida. Unironically, by the data, the census is in. You have Democrat refugees moving en masse to your states. Be on guard. I don't know what else to say. Just filth. The place is covered in poo. I mean, that's what they're saying.
And syringes, yeah.
They move on and they say insecurity, which is a very polite way of saying just crime constantly, which has been legalized by the state. Again, by the politicians in that state. I did love, a friend of mine living in Florida sent me a message, and there's some guy in charge of, like, I think it's her local police department or like the county or whatever, and he says, if you want to go looting, move to California. We won't allow that here. Like, that was his statement on Christmas. Like, if you want to steal anything, go to California. Don't worry, they've legalized it. Go on. I don't even care. Run away. Like, encouraging people to move to California to rob things.
It's just extraordinary.
Which he's not even, unwise in doing, because it is good burglar advice.
What are the rates of businesses moving out in comparison?
I don't have those. I really should. But,
because I imagine those would be stark as well, if it's quite literally legal to just loot.
I just love the legal advice, like, not even from the Lotus, but just from the police. The police advice is, if you're a burglar, we've got some advice for you. Go and burgle California. You'll get many more profits. Because if you burgle Florida, we're going to shoot you. So anyway, they also say devastating wildfires and ease of working from home being a new thing, that people don't need to be in a incredibly expensive hellhole and instead can move somewhere and just work from home, because that's better. And of course, we have the examples as well in the major stars. So we have Joe Rogan, as we have mentioned before, but I thought it's worth mentioning again, saying he's moved to Texas for the freedom and seems to be loving it. I never see him say a bad word about it. So yeah, seems to be all right. We go to the next one. We also have Elon Musk, who moved his factory out there and is trying to move himself, I believe, because, well, also the Democrats hate him.
Yeah.
Did you see the most recent thing where he released how much he was paying in taxes?
Yeah, wasn't it like 100 billion?
No, it was like $11 billion.
11 billion, sorry, yeah.
But it's just like, I just brought you a new aircraft carrier. I mean, that's what he's done. He brought the country a new aircraft carrier with his taxes alone in a single year. And yet Elizabeth Warren is like, you're a freeloader. You're freeloading off the United States. Like, I mean, could you think of a better way to have your geniuses leave your state and go elsewhere?
I can't believe she actually had the nerve to say that.
Yeah, anyway, moving on. We also have Ben Shapiro, who I didn't know actually, but apparently he moved to Florida as well.
Oh.
So he moved the company, Daily Wire, to Nashville, Tennessee, and they operate from there. But he personally moved to Florida, and there's like a 10-minute video I watched before we went on of just him being like, yeah, it's just better, and all the reasons why. And one of the most interesting, which I don't think really gets enough credit, and Ben Shapiro brings it up constantly, but should be mentioned more, is the intolerance. So living in California, it's a Stalinist state.
Yeah, I can imagine.
In effect, which is that you're either blue or you shut up, and you never talk about it, and you don't go open about it. And he's interviewed many a celebrity who worked in Hollywood who are like, I just have to keep my mouth shut because people are so intolerant here. And apparently in Florida, you could be a Dem or a Republican publicly, and people are just like, I don't give a toss.
But there have actually been, there are many cases still going on today where if you basically wear a MAGA hat, it's just normal for you to be attacked for it.
Or, the MAGA hats come out and say, this is MAGA country.
Yeah.
there's fake hate crimes going on left, right, and center as well, which, there's no problem with blue states. There's also one other mention in here that I have to mention because I just think it's a really horrible story, but kind of funny, which he mentioned that you've got Hollywood Boulevard, like the stars, and people were going to smash up Donald Trump's star because he's a bad man now, but he wasn't 10 years ago, even though his opinions haven't changed. And there was just the promotion of poverty within LA specifically, and one incident being that entire area apparently has been taken up essentially by homeless people. And there was one incident where a woman was walking along the boulevard, and some guy came up to her with a bucket full of feces and threw the feces over her.
Ugh.
It's like, this used to be a tourist zone. I mean, I play GTA 5 and you go and look at it and be like, oh yeah, the thing from TV. And then I remember what Ben Shapiro said about it and the reality, and I go, oh, how do I leave? I'm going out to the countryside with Trevor, because to hell with this place.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast, The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as this interview, which I did with Miles Routledge, or Miles of Kabul, as he is better known, or Miles of Sudan, which he is currently known. God, I hope he gets back alive from that. Anyway, if you'd like to find out what happened in Kabul, go and give that a watch. And if you'd like to get updates on what's coming out on the site, you can always follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com. Thank you and goodbye.